Hi there, AlkalinE here with another PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds guide. This time we're going to look at how to improve your aim, which is probably the most important thing you must be able to do in PUBG. I'm going to break this down into 5 different sections, which all play their own role in effective aiming skill to get you that chicken dinner. The weapon you use to engage each enemy you encounter plays a large role in whether you will win that fight. It directly affects your aim if you're using the wrong weapon for a given situation, or if you're using your weapon in the wrong way. There are a ton of weapons in PUBG, and they can be grouped into different types. You probably have at least a basic idea of what type of weapon is good in which situation, but let's go over that in detail anyway. Let's start with pistols. Yeah, they're not the ideal choice in any situation really, but it's better to have a pistol when you first land rather than no weapon at all. They can also play a role in any weapon loadout if you're engaged in close range with no time to reload your main weapon. The Glock 18C is actually a good substitute for a submachine gun, provided you get an extended magazine. Pistols are only really meant to be used in close range combat. Let's move on to submachine guns, or SMGs. These are really useful in close range combat, but won't perform well up to the mid range and further. Controlling these weapons in full auto mode is key, as that is where their strength lies. An SMG is complemented best with a DMR to allow you to engage in most ranges of combat. Shotguns are also intended for close range combat, but perform in a very different manner to SMGs. Accurate aim is essential and you will have less chance to hit your enemy compared with an automatic weapon. While the S12K is more forgiving with accuracy, shotguns are a specialized weapon that reward accurate aim with fast kill times. Assault rifles, or ARs, are versatile weapons since they can engage relatively effectively at most ranges. While this is a great feature, they are not the best weapon for any specific range like specialized weapon types are. For example, in a close range fight, an assault rifle will not perform as effectively versus an SMG, or at long range versus a sniper rifle. Managing your single, burst or full auto mode is a key aspect of using an assault rifle. Single tap at medium to long range and use full auto in the close range. Designated marksman rifles, or DMRs, are suited towards the mid to long range engagement. These weapons combine well with SMGs as you can engage with effective means at most ranges, although most other weapon types will work well with a DMR too. Take advantage of the semi-auto firing ability at longer ranges with these weapons, but be careful against sniper rifles as the enemy will be looking for deadly shots upon you, while you are looking to make multiple hits in general. Using a DMR effectively means maintaining good trigger discipline and managing recoil quickly before the enemy can get to safety. Always aim for an initial headshot where possible. Sniper rifles, or SRs, are the king of long-range engagements and are technically the most powerful weapons in PUBG. When I say technically, I mean that each shot fired is the most powerful when compared with a single shot fired from other weapon types. Using a sniper rifle effectively means not missing your shots. Headshots mean everything with these weapons, but try not to stand still waiting for your shot to line up, or you may find yourself meeting the bullet from someone else's sniper rifle. You should ideally have an assault rifle as your secondary weapon when using a sniper rifle, as once the engagement moves to the mid-range or closer, the sniper rifle loses its edge. The exception to this is if the enemy isn't aware of you, and you have the opportunity to land a deadly shot without much risk. While there are currently only 2 light machine guns, or LMGs, they certainly have their place in a firefight. These weapons are great at destroying vehicles and suppressing enemy positions. Their recoil is high and hard to manage, which can make them awkward to use directly against your enemy, although going prone will remedy this greatly. With that said, if you're gonna go prone to fire upon your enemy when they're aware of you, then you're making yourself an easy target. Only go prone if you're confident of your situation. Right, that's the weapons covered. Let's move on to the next tip. Your mouse sensitivity is very important in any shooter game, and PUBG is no exception. The best metric you can use to measure your sensitivity is your DPI setting, which stands for dots per inch. This controls your mouse pointer speed directly. While you can change this value with almost any gaming mouse, some might not have the option. In that case, you will have to change your mouse sensitivity via Windows. In either case, take a note of the initial setting you have so you can measure your changes and revert them if something doesn't feel right afterwards. Now when it comes to tuning your setting, everyone will have a different preference, and you have likely built up a degree of muscle memory with your current setting. When you change it, it will feel strange, but give yourself time to readapt, and before you know it, you'll have a new muscle memory suited to it. Regarding the setting itself, you typically want to have a lower sensitivity if you want to be accurate. A high sensitivity might help you pull off that 360 no scope, but you'll probably miss anyway, as high sensitivity is hard to control in a precise manner. I personally use a setting of 2200 DPI, and my Windows pointer setting is 6. There is no correct setting for sensitivity, and what works for one person won't necessarily work for someone else. Here's a bunch of top PUBG players' sensitivity. Some people believe that gradually decreasing your sensitivity over time is the best way to find your ideal setting. The way I did it some time ago was by changing it right down to a low DPI setting, then playing and adjusting every couple of rounds based on how it felt. For me, the difference between 2000 DPI and 2200 DPI was definitely noticeable. It will take quite a few hours of playing for you to achieve the right setting, and it is best that you spread those playtime hours over several days so that you feel fresh each time you test the setting out. When it comes to in-game sensitivity settings for different scopes, you are best off with the same setting across them all. Having different settings per scope will only mess with your muscle memory for your main setting. Again, there is no right or wrong here, so you may find that different settings per scope works for you, but you should try a global setting first. This is probably the hardest part to work through in this guide, and you might feel like you are just inaccurate and can't handle the change, but stick with it, give yourself time to adapt, and once you see the results, you'll never look back. Whenever you are dealing with a moving target in PUBG, you have to lead your shot if you want your bullet to hit your target. This is because bullets take time to travel, since PUBG uses a realistic gunplay model and there are no hit scan weapons. Leading your shot means to shoot ahead of your target's movement path, so that your enemy moves into your line of fire by the time your bullet reaches their range. The further away your enemy is, the longer your bullet will take to reach them, so the further ahead of your enemy you will need to lead your shot. Past a certain range, your bullet will also drop due to loss of energy and gravity pull, which means you'll have to aim higher in addition to further ahead in your enemy's path for your bullet to hit them. Each weapon has its own bullet velocity and bullet drop, and your knowledge of using the right weapon for the situation from the beginning of the video will play a large role here. Using the right weapon for the range will make leading your shots much easier. There is no magic way to lead your target, as you most likely know, since every engagement is at a different range with a different weapon in PUBG, and of course you don't know if your enemy will keep running in the same direction by the time your bullet reaches them. Most enemies will react to being shot, which will mean you'll have to adapt your shot leading quickly before they evade you. To be consistent with this skill will take a lot of time, since you have to practice against real enemies in various situations, and since you often end up with a different weapon each round, you will find it difficult to get a good feel for each weapon too. If a training mode or shooting range ever becomes available, then this is a skill you will want to practice there the most. Many weapons in PUBG have a full auto or burst capability. This is typically reserved for LMGs, ARs and SMGs, but there are a few exceptions. Using the full auto or burst mode is known as spraying, since you are firing bullets rapidly, which causes significant recoil resulting in a spray of bullets. You generally only use this technique in close range due to the recoil being too hard to control past that range. With good recoil control, full auto and burst mode is devastating at close range, since you are making hits on your enemy in quick succession rather than with tactical single tapping. The time to kill is just faster, as long as you are at least fairly accurate. Often in this type of fight, you will be spraying at the same time as your enemy is spraying back at you, so in general whoever is aiming the best will win the fight. The key to a well-aimed spray is pulling your mouse down to negate the recoil your gun is producing. Of course, this is easier said than done, since recoil is random and varies between weapons and which attachments you have equipped. Experience with different weapons is the only way to get a good idea of the recoil each weapon has. Like I said before, there is no shooting range currently available in PUBG, so you have to practice as you play. A lot of weapons produce worse recoil the longer you hold the spray for, so you should try to fire in concentrated bursts to maintain accuracy. Sometimes you will end up in a situation where it's better to just spray all out and control it the best you can. Always try to equip a compensator and a grip to the weapon you're using for spraying, as this really helps to reduce the recoil, making the job easier for you. If you want a detailed guide on which grip helps perform the best for spraying, then check out Wacky Jackie's video in the description. Well, the only thing left to do now is to practice. Take this knowledge and apply it to your game, but be patient and don't get frustrated, it takes time to improve. You can always come back to this video if you're having difficulty or you need a reminder. Good luck, and don't forget you're playing a game to have fun before anything else. Well, that's about it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more PUBG content in the future, subscribe too. Thanks for watching and see you next time.